Hey there, welcome to today's deal breakdown. This AI startup has grown 10x since I invested in them back in 2020. Google brought them into their accelerator program, and IBM is one of their biggest partners. Look, I invested in this fledgling startup before they were the powerhouse that they are today. In today's startup deal breakdown, I'm going to share how I and other investors inside my membership invested in this AI startup that's eliminating bias from the hiring process. I'm talking about This Way. In today's deal breakdown, I'm going to share why I selected This Way, what was going on in the market and in their startup when they jumped in, and how they could bring massive returns for everyone who invested into them. So, with that being said, let's dive in. This Way was founded by Angela Hood. Angela, like most founders, experienced a major problem, and she decided to solve it. As she entered the workforce fresh out of college with an engineering degree, and she was excited to go out there and make a difference in the world, Angela experienced firsthand the struggle of bias inside of the hiring process. Now, she was in a field dominated by men, and she wasn't even able to secure an interview. See, she graduated from Texas A&M with an engineering degree. And then she decided to make a genius move to change the game. And she did it on her resume. She actually went from putting Angela on her resume to A. Hood, so that no one could know that she was actually a female. And then guess what happened? Boom, the interview requests started to roll in. And this sent her on a multi-year journey to begin eliminating bias inside of the hiring process. Now, as she dove into the world of hiring, she saw bias all around the corporate landscape. She saw it when it came to genders and race, and she even saw bias against veterans, which is crazy. So Angela applied to be a part of an accelerator at Cambridge, and she got accepted. Then she and her family moved across the pond for 4 years, working to develop an AI software that had never been built before. And finally, in December of 2017, after 17 failed attempts, something powerful happened. The AI technology that she'd been building started working. It was at that moment that Angela knew she had an industry-changing piece of software and technology on her hands that could literally change the hiring landscape. Now, I had the pleasure of meeting Angela in 2020, a little bit further down the road after the AI software started to work. Now, she was dealing with a major problem when we came into contact with each other. I would consider it almost a company-ending sort of problem. See, there were venture capitalists who had signed an agreement to invest in her company, giving her the money she needed to continue going. They signed the term sheets, they got excited, and then guess what? COVID hit, and they all backed out. The angel investors, the VCs, everyone got cold feet and left Angela hanging and put her in a really, really tight spot. And for a growing company, growing quickly, solving problems and bringing on new clients, capital and cash is your lifeblood. And that's when she made one of the biggest decisions of her entire life. She decided to raise money from the crowd through equity crowdfunding. This was never Angela's plan, but she started to become very excited about bringing everyday investors alongside her on this journey. Not only that, but once she opened up the doors and started having investors come in, she got story after story after story of investors who talked about their personal experiences with bias in the workplace. Now, when Angela's campaign opened for investment, they were looking for around $1 million, the total amount that they could actually raise at that time before the laws changed. Now, This Way was doing around $1 million in sales at that time, and they were growing rapidly. Now, I'm sure as we can all remember, there was quite a bit going on in our country in 2020, specifically around racial tension. There were a number of corporate CEOs who'd come to the conclusion that they needed to do better when it came to their hiring practices, which made an investment in This Way even seem more exciting, right? Right product, right time, the industry was taking off and booming. And that is when I decided to invest in This Way. When I invested in This Way Global, they were sitting at somewhere around a $19 million valuation. And like I said, they were doing around $1 million in sales annually. Well, let's fast forward to what's happened over the last few years. Now, This Way has landed some big partnerships. I talked about it earlier with IBM. This is bringing tons of clients to their roster, and they're seeing a massive amount of growth. They're producing well over $20 million annually. Think about that. They were doing around 1 million just 4 years ago. Now they're doing 20 million. And they recently were valued at $100 million. That is a 5x jump in value since my initial investment back in 2020. Now for Angela and her team, they're just getting started. I could see them quickly moving to the $100 million in revenue range and catching the attention of some very big, deep pockets that could someday come along and purchase them, or maybe they could do an IPO, who knows? But here's the thing. It's important that you know how extensive the process was that I walked through when it came to Angela and investing in her and her team. Look, I have a team of my own, and we dove into the numbers and we asked some really hard questions. Look, when we do diligence, we dive all the way in. My team and I, we dove into the numbers and we asked very hard questions, which is okay when you're gonna put your money into a startup. You're allowed to ask those questions. Now, we needed to know their plan for profitability. We looked at their growth map. We combed through countless spreadsheets to see what they were doing with their money. It's so important to look at a startup and see how they're handling the money they already have, because that'll show you what they're gonna do with your money. And then I actually flew to the headquarters to meet with Angela in person. Look, I'm not gonna invest in somebody because tensions are high in the country and it's the right thing to do. Look, I love her mission. I love what she's doing, but the company actually has to be solving a problem, and they have to have the ability to return money to me and anyone else who invests in the startup. So let me tell you some of the main factors that got me excited and pushed me over the edge to be an investor inside of This Way. The first one, and one of my most important factors when looking at startups, is the founder and their leadership team. Look, Angela, she was the real deal. She had gone through hell and back to build this startup, and she's put amazing people around her, and I was excited about it. The next one was timing. Guys, it was 2020. Eliminating bias. Look, I knew that they were gonna get more attention and more traction, and man, have they. Another thing, they were leveraging AI. This was 3 years before anyone had ever heard the term ChatGPT, and I could tell that AI was gonna play a major factor in the years to come, and I love their technology and their valuation. Look, their valuation was in a really good spot, and I believed it was gonna continue to grow. As I've watched through the years, it's been amazing to see Angela and their team continue to grow and scale. And I believe that her and her company, they're making a dent in the world of HR, hiring, and eliminating bias and helping people actually get jobs that they're qualified for. Which makes me really excited as an investor, as just a human. That's the right thing to do. But time's gonna tell how this all is gonna play out, of course. But this story is shaping up to be one of the biggest stories in the world of equity crowdfunding, which will be good news for me and others who invest alongside of me. Look, Angela is a story about how a scrappy founder decided to disrupt an entire industry with the right product, the right partnerships, and a little bit of luck. And look, she had a chip on her shoulder, and I love it. Sometimes you want to invest in a founder who's got a chip and they're ready to change the world. And this is another example of how powerful startup investing can actually be. And the coolest part is that I had about 1,000 other investors from my membership that invested right alongside me in This Way, which made me so happy when that happened. Look, there is an investing revolution taking place. There is no doubt about it. And I'm inviting you to join me inside of my private startup investing service called Deal Hunters Alliance. This is my invitation to you. Look, there are thousands of investors just like you who are part of Deal Hunters Alliance, and they're looking to grow their wealth through startup investing. Inside of Deal Hunters Alliance, I am on a mission. I am a man focused because I am trying to find the best possible startups because I invest in them. This is my portfolio. But after I do that, I share everything I can with the people in my membership so they can decide if they want to invest right alongside me. And usually, most of them do, which is pretty cool to see every single time. Now, each quarter, I'm running the same level of due diligence on different companies like I did with This Way and Angela's team. Out of hundreds of startups that I review each and every quarter, I select 3 startups. Three make my top final list, and we go deep into the due diligence process. Now, when I'm done and my analysts have beat up the founders and asked all the hard questions, I fly to the most promising startup out of those 3. And when I land at their headquarters, I film the entire thing, and then I make my final decision. Now, once I decide to invest, I share everything with everyone exclusively inside of my Deal Hunters Alliance membership. I share investing reports. I share the grading reports that we put together. These are extensive, multi-pages. I share the videos of the founders, their leadership team. I video the facilities or any technology they have. I share the good and I share the bad. I actually hold nothing back because look, if someone was sharing something to me and I'm gonna invest my money, I wanna see everything they know. And that's what I do for my members. I'm about to reveal the next startup that I'm investing in here very soon. And I would hate for you to miss out on this amazing opportunity. Look, we're building an amazing community and I would love for you to be a part of it. There is a phone number right down there below and all you have to do is call that number and talk to my team and they will answer any questions you have. We love answering questions from new members like you. And they're also gonna fill you in on all the perks you're gonna get inside of Deal Hunters Alliance. And here, look, when you call them today, I want you to tell them that Chris said, I get something special and free. And I wanna give you private deal masterclass. When you join Deal Hunters Alliance, it's a 30+ video course. I put a ton of energy and effort into this, and I'm gonna give it to you when you join Deal Hunters Alliance today. So you make sure you tell them on the call, okay? Now, if you're ready to invest in startups right alongside me, if you wanna see all the diligence that I and my team have put together on these startups, and if you wanna step with confidence into this exciting world of startup investing, then come join me inside of Deal Hunters Alliance and the amazing members that we've built inside of this community. We're ready to take your calls, we're waiting for you, and we'll answer your questions, and I will see you inside the Alliance. Hey, I hope you enjoyed this video on the world of equity crowdfunding, learning the ins and outs. I'm excited to tell you that I just wrote a brand new book called The Angel Advantage, and it shares everything I've learned over the years of startup investing and what you need to know, laws that have changed, some exciting ways that you can get involved in the game, and where you can find great deals. All you have to do is click the link down in the description, and you can go get your copy right now. And if you haven't checked it out yet, you should check out this video right here as well.